Have you ever stopped and thought about what's really running the show? I mean, the hidden logic behind, well, everything. Our technology, our medicine, even the way we think. It all feels so new, so modern, right? But what if I told you the blueprints were actually drawn up over 1,000 years ago? So let me ask you a question. What do your smartphone, modern surgery, and the scientific method itself all have in common? I know, it sounds like the setup for a weird joke. On the surface, they seem like they're from different planets. But believe me, they all come from the same family tree. I mean, just think about the phone in your hand. That little device is a powerhouse, crunching millions of calculations every single second. It's all powered by processes so complex they feel like pure magic.
Or picture a modern operating room. It's filled with all this precise, sterile equipment and life-saving techniques that we just kind of expect to be there. We totally take it for granted.
And then there's the big one, the scientific method. You know, observe, form a hypothesis, test it out. It's the engine behind every single discovery we've ever made. So what's the connection? Well, their roots all trace back to the same place, a golden age of discovery that literally created the blueprint for the world we live in today. So let's get into it.
First up, let's talk about the code that runs our lives. To find its origin, we have to go back in time, way back to 9th century Baghdad, to meet a man who didn't just write a book on a new way to think. He wrote the book.
You've heard of algebra, of course. Well, the word itself comes from al-Jabr, an Arabic term from the title of his groundbreaking book. It means something like completion or restoration. He was talking about the simple, powerful act of balancing an equation, moving terms around to make it all whole again. It's an idea that changed absolutely everything.
The author's name was Muhammad ibn Musa al-Khwarizmi. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Centuries later, when his work was translated into Latin, his name, al-Khwarizmi, got a new spelling, algorithmy. And yeah, that should be ringing a bell, because it's the origin of another word that basically defines our entire digital age.
That's right, algorithm. See, al-Khwarizmi's true genius wasn't just solving for X. It was creating a systematic, step-by-step recipe that you could use over and over again to solve whole categories of problems. And that is the very heart of what an algorithm is.
And you can see the direct line from him to today. It's undeniable. First, al-Khwarizmi creates a formal, systematic way to solve problems using algebra. Then, his methods become known by his own name, algorithms. From there, those algorithms become the basic instruction set for all computer programming. And today, that programming is what powers everything from your banking app to cutting-edge AI. Now, this systematic way of thinking wasn't just for mathematics. It was being applied to physics, too, by a man who decoded the very nature of light and vision. For centuries, the world's greatest minds had been dead wrong about something really fundamental, how we actually see things.
So the old theory from ancient Greek thinkers like Euclid and Ptolemy was the emission theory. They thought our eyes literally shot out invisible rays to touch objects. I'm serious. But in the 11th century, a scholar named Ibn al-Haytham, known in the West as Al-Hazen, he came along and proposed something totally different, the intromission theory. He argued that vision works the other way around. Light bounces off an object and then enters our eye.
And he didn't just suggest it, he proved it with a brilliant experiment. He used a completely darkened room, what he called an al-Bayt al-Muslim. When that term was later translated into Latin, it became camera obscura, the first camera. He showed that light coming through a tiny pinhole projected an upside-down image on the far wall. This simple test proved, once and for all, that light travels to the eye.
And this wasn't just a discovery about light. It was a revolution in how to think. His philosophy, which you can see in this quote, is basically the job description for a modern scientist. He argued that you don't find truth by just trusting what the old authorities wrote. No, you find it by questioning, by testing, and by submitting your ideas to argument and demonstration.
This commitment to observation and evidence wasn't just reshaping physics, it was completely revolutionizing medicine. In the 10th century, surgery was brutal. It was a terrifying last resort that you often didn't survive. But one physician changed all that by inventing the very tools of the trade. His name was Abu al-Qasim al-Zahrawi, and his contribution was just staggering. He personally designed, illustrated, and explained how to use over 200 surgical instruments. Many of them were completely new to the world of medicine.
But, his most famous discovery wasn't something he designed at all.
It was something he observed. The story goes that he had a pet monkey who decided to chew on and swallow the strings of his odd, which is a kind of lute.
Now, those strings were made from animal intestines, and al-Zahrawi had a brilliant flash of insight. His monkey's body didn't reject the string material, it absorbed it. And that simple observation led to one of the greatest inventions in medical history, catgut sutures, the first dissolvable stitches. For the first time, surgeons could stitch up wounds on the inside of the body with something that would just naturally disappear. It was a complete game changer.
And what's really amazing is how clearly you can see the direct line from his work to today's operating room. His huge medical encyclopedia, called al-Tasrif, has all these detailed illustrations of his tools, and they are the direct ancestors of what a surgeon uses now. His retractable knife is the modern scalpel. His forceps are still used. The connection is it's undeniable.
And he was so much more than an inventor. He was a true physician. He insisted on having a strong relationship with his patients. He treated the poor for free. He was the first to describe the hereditary nature of hemophilia, and he cared so much about his students, he called them my children. He was pioneering a compassionate, ethical approach to medicine.
So, think about it. We've got the man who gave us the algorithm, the man who gave us the scientific method, and the man who gave us modern surgery. These weren't just isolated sparks of genius. They were stars in a brilliant constellation.
This timeline really puts it all into perspective. During the Islamic Golden Age, scholars didn't just preserve the old knowledge from Greece, Persia, and India. They absorbed it, they challenged it, and they built on it in ways that were just exponential. Places like the House of Wisdom in Baghdad became these global powerhouses of translation and discovery. They created the intellectual fuel that would later be translated into Latin and help kickstart the European Renaissance.
So here's the bottom line. The operating system of our modern world, our science, our technology, our medicine, it wasn't just written from scratch in the last few centuries. Its core code was developed during this vibrant, interconnected era of human curiosity. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? The next time you use your phone, or see a doctor, or just ask a question about the world, what other ghosts are hiding in your machine? What other ancient foundations are you standing on?